there's a lot of videos on self-defense out there, but I'm here to tell you what they're not going to tell you. And the truth of the matter, you want to find it legal to defend yourself. What's important? You need to learn a few skills before you can learn to fight. You better not get into that fight with just some fighting skills. That can be messy. What I recommend is you're learning how to charm people, or you can aggressively bait them. And then you have to remove them. Generally, you're going to have to remove them from the situation because there's going to be a lot of other people around there. Know your neighborhood at all times in order to stay safe. Know where the nearest alleys are that are less traveled than others. Invite them back. Whatever method you want to use, charming, baiting. You could leave crumbs of food if they're a hungry person, or dollars. If you're not that far with the charming or the baiting yet. Lure them into the alley. Now, before you do either of these things, learn how to fight, learn how to bait them. It's probably important you find a nice place to take them to. Most cities are surrounded by countryside, so you're good there. Now, if you're in a large city surrounded by a few medium, smaller cities, this is going to be a long journey. Maybe you should have thought this through before going outside where you know these people exist. So, I don't know what to tell you in that. But in many big cities, if you're in a big city, you're only about 30 minutes away from a good area to take someone out to who wants you to test your defensive skills on them. So, what you do, you travel around. You got to travel around for a long time first. Just travel all around. Look around. See what's going on. Get out. Walk around. Enjoy the nature walk. See what's going on. Because, you know, if you really want self-defense, what you're going to have to do in the land of the free is make sure no one knows you've just defended yourself. And so, you add all these steps together. Go ahead and get your classes from the other people. I'm not going to teach you how to disarm people and throw them on the ground and all that. You're going to mangle them far before the alleyway, and if they touch you, and you're going to have your handprints all over them, too. You figure out how to do that first part. Plenty of those classes out there. You can just go like this and knock people on the ground, they say, and then the government comes along and they're like, you knocked a criminal on the ground. Cool. Wait a minute. You're a criminal. You're knocking people on the ground. I think that's really how most of the situations might end. In my experience, that's how they end. You know, you have a person coming up to you like, you know what, it's over for you, and you're like, what? And they're like, whack, and you're like, oh, again, and like, whack, whack, and you're like, oh man, they haven't stopped yet, and then they're like, whack, whack, and you're like, okay, and they come at you again, you're like, whack, and they're laying on the ground, twitching and stuff, and or sometimes they get up screaming even angrier than before. And then, I mean, that's going to lead to them laying on the ground twitching and stuff. And then, what about everyone around you who started to look when they heard some sounds, and all they see is someone laying on the ground twitching and bleeding, and their arms like wrapped around their back going up their poop hole? And you're just standing there like, hopefully laughing. Hopefully you're not too upset by the situation. You're not letting them get to you. And that's what people see. And that's what that person feels, too. That person feels like, oh my God, I'm mangled. And he's laughing at me. I'm going to get up. When they replace my limbs with some artificial limbs, I'll be back. I'll be back. I'll be back, I promise you. And so, yeah, you don't want that to happen. What you do is you lure them into a safe spot where you can have your match with a person. And then if the person goes too far or you accidentally use your magic fairy wand to tap them a little too hard, because you never know how much it takes to make someone break. That fairy wand can be powerful. Boop, they just drop. You don't know what happened, and no one needs to know. Because at this point in time, we know we've gone too far. The fairy wand has casted too much magic upon this person who just wasn't ready for what they wanted to do. You should have taken it to the gym first and learned to fight or something. I don't know. Yeah, I never know what's in their head and stuff. Usually alcohol, I assume, or other drugs. No offense to drugs. I hate blaming drugs for what randomized people do. But anyways, yeah, so then once that happens, once you hit them with the magical fairy wand and they drop, and you can analyze the situation. You can be like, okay, we can move on now. It doesn't look too bad. Now, if the magical fairy wand is somehow lodged into their skull or something like that, now we have to move on to step 3. Okay, we've got through the first steps. Lure them to a safe space where the fight can occur and not out in the open where it can hurt or offend anyone. Deal with the show. You know, round 1. Ding, ding, ding. And then we might have to move on to step 3, going and finding a safe place for the show to continue. And we gather them up. You're going to need a car for this too. I forgot about that. You're probably going to want a car. I'm not sure, unless you're wearing like your Jason Voorhees mask and stuff. I don't think it's going to look very well if you're walking around town, you know, with someone draped over your body whose arm is like twisted and broke off and jammed up their rectum. It's not going to work. At least in my experience. I mean, actually in my experience, some crazy stuff has worked before. You never know. But, you know, we're trying to not test it. If we're going to train for it, why not do the actual moves properly? So we get in the car, we drag them to the car, we throw them. We should have the car lined with some sort of trash bag. Whether we're going to throw them in the trunk or the back seat. If you got a back seat, probably trunk's best. But hey, if you got a back seat, you can just cover them up with, I don't know, some stuff you're going to throw away. I know that much. And we're not going to get pulled over unless we're an idiot traveling 90 miles per hour down a 25 zone with our friends in the back like that, not caring about their safety at all. They're not buckled in or anything. And then we get out to our safe designated spot where we can, you know, give them some time to lay down. However much time they need to lay down, you know. Maybe cover them up with a little something to keep them warm in case they come back from hell. And could have been a good person. Maybe they're going to come back from heaven. And yeah, that's it. That's self-defense. That's self-defense 102, 103. They didn't tell you about that. And 101 shouldn't be 101 because it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic to, I mean, technically, I was born crazy, wicked strong. So, I didn't even know I knew martial arts, and I was being taught it, and I put people on the ground with it, and they're like on the ground, like, what, getting up, screaming, and coming to attack me again. They're like, what just happened? You know, like in their head, you can tell they're like, duh, there's no way in the hell that happened. And I'm sitting there like, there's no way in the hell that happened. How that happened? I'm with you on this. Oh, you're coming at me again. Okay, so yeah, like maybe a few little bits of knowledge help you, especially if you have that thing where I do, where time can freeze almost and stuff during interactions. But that's 101. Not really. It's 103. 102 would be finding a place to safely deal with get the fight going on, and 103 would be safely getting rid of problems.